Hi, today we're going to talk about using frequency tables. So there will be times when you will be asked to find your measures of center from a frequency table. And you have to remember that frequency represents the amount of times that a value is going to be observed in a data set. Basically, your frequency is going to tell you how many times you are going to write a number out if you were to write everything out in a list. So let's go right into an example. It says a new shoe design is coming out to Nordstrom for the new season. The manager wants to make sure that he can meet the demand but cannot afford to overorder stock. He has been keeping a record of how many women buy shoes of each size. Use the following information to find the mean, median, and the mode. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is, like I said, you need to understand that anytime you find the mean, you are taking the sum of all your values. So if I were to write all of these numbers in a long list, it would kind of look like this. So I would have 6 written 7 times. Then I would have 6.5 written 11 times. And as you can see, this is very tedious, but you can kind of understand what's going on here. So I'm going to stop right there. So basically, let's say if we were to write all of this out, okay, you would want to find the sum of all these numbers. So remember, addition is nothing but repeated addition is nothing but multiplication. So what you have to understand is that if I wanted to add up all of my sixes, if I know that 6 is written 7 times, all I would have to do is just take whatever shoe size is there and multiply by how many times that I've observed it. All right. So 6 times 7 is going to end up giving us 42. If I do 6.5 times 11, that gives me 71.5. 7 times 15 is going to give me 105. 7.5 times 19 is going to give me 142.5. 8 times 23 is going to give me 184. 8.5 times 25 is going to give me 212.5. 9 times 18 is going to give me 162. 9.5 times 13 is going to give me 123.5. 10 times 8 is going to give me 80. And 10.5 times 3 is going to give me 31.5. Okay, so that is basically the sum of all of the numbers in that specific category, okay, depending on the frequencies. So once you do that, you can literally add all of these numbers up. So I'm going to have 42 plus 71.5 plus 105 plus 142.5 plus 184 plus 212.5 plus 162 plus 123.5 plus 80 plus 31.5. I'm going to add all of those up. And I end up getting that my sum of these values are 1,154.5. All right. So now let's talk about cumulative frequency. Okay. Cumulative frequency is basically adding up your numbers as you go. It's like taking a running total. Okay. So when you begin your cumulative frequency, you need to understand that the starting cumulative frequency is going to be equal to the frequency of the first number. So my first number is 7, and then I have 7 sixes, and then I have 11 6.5s. So 7 plus 11 is going to end up giving me 18 numbers. Then once I have 18, I do 18 plus 15. That's going to give me a running total of 33. And then I'm going to add 19, which is 52. And then I'm going to add 23, which ends up giving us the cumulative frequency of 75. Then adding 25 ends up giving us 100. Then we end up having 118. And then once we have 118, we add 13. That gives me 131. If I add 8 to it, that's going to give me 139. And then finally, adding 3 to it will give me 142. Okay, so this is my cumulative frequency here. So the way, now that I know that's my cumulative frequency, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up and find out what my total is by doing it the old school way, by adding my frequencies up. So if I have 7 plus 11 plus 15 plus 19 plus 23 plus 25 plus 18 plus 13 plus 8 plus 3, that gives me 142. So one thing that you will need to know is that if you take the sum of your frequencies, it is going to end up giving you the actual last line of your cumulative frequency. They should be the same. Okay, so if we wanted to calculate the mean, I would take the sum of my values, because remember that's what mean is. So X bar is my mean. That's going to be the sum, and I'm going to just give you the notation of it, the sum of my values times their frequencies divided by the total number of my frequencies, or the sum of all of my frequencies. So that is basically saying that I'm going to have my mean, and it's going to be equal to 1,154.5, and then I want to divide it by 142. So once I have that, I will end up getting that my mean is approximately 8.13 in 3 sig figs. Next, I want to find my median. So now if you have a frequency table, the way that you will find your median in this case is that you need to understand that your cumulative frequency will actually help you most. Now, you really don't need the cumulative frequency for this, but it helps, okay? So you remember your median is the number that's halfway. So if you look at it, I have a total of 142, okay? I have 142 total numbers. So that means that I would take 142, I would add 1 to it and divide it by 2 to figure out the position that I need to be looking at. So when I do that, I will end up seeing that I have 143 divided by 2, which ends up giving me 71.5. That's the term. Okay, so the 71.5th term, so to speak, that I need to. So if I go to my cumulative frequency here, I know that 71.5. If I already know that my cumulative frequency here is 7, then it goes to 18, then it goes to 33, then to 52, I already know that 71.5 is going to end up landing me in this area here. So my median is actually going to be 8. That's going to be the median shoe size. All right. So that's how I can tell what my median is. All right. So I have my mean and my median so far. Next, my mode is going to be the number that shows up the most. So the number that shows up the most is going to be the number with the highest frequency. And as you can see here, 25 goes to 8.5. So 8.5 is the most common shoe size in this case. All right. So I'm going to show you really quickly a little trick here, and I'm going to show you how to use the calculator. The way you use the calculator here is that you will end up going to Stat, go to Edit. We are going to type in our actual X values into L1, and we're going to type their respective frequencies in L2. And just make sure you are very careful with typing these numbers in, and be careful not to make a mistake, because it will throw your data off. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to do just like I did before, and I'm going to press stat, and I'm gonna go over to calc, and I'm gonna press one for one variable statistics. My list of my values are in L1, however, the frequencies are in L2, so I have to press second and then the number 2 to bring up L2, and then I can calculate this information here. So as you can see here, I can tell based off of this menu that my mean at the top is 8.3. So I can verify that in a calculator, so that's right. I can see that my median is 8. That is correct. And of course, the calculator does not give you your mode. You can just find your mode by looking at it. And of course, that's 8.5. All right. So next, we're going to talk about grouped data. All right. So when you have group data, it says when data is given in groups, we use the mid interval value to represent the values that are in each interval. Basically, it's like you're picking a spokesperson to represent everyone in each category. Okay. When we do this, we are assuming that the values are evenly distributed in each interval. And because of this assumption, we have to understand that the mean and the median are estimates. They may not be exact. Okay, sometimes they will be, sometimes they won't be, but they should be close. Okay, so the mean and the median will be an estimate and it will not be an exact amount. So let's look at an example here. It says 50 people were asked to say when they think a time period of 1 minute had elapsed. The times they estimated were recorded to the nearest second. The results are listed below. So here, we're going to use this information to find the mean, median, and mode. So here, we will see that we have the following times, and our times are going to be in ranges. All right, so the mid-interval value is basically like the midpoint. So in order to find your mid-interval value, you add your upper and your lower bounds, and you divide them by 2. Basically, you find the average, okay, or the median, or the middle of the two values. So if I add 50 and 53, that's 103 divided by 2. That means that my mid-interval value is 51.5. If I do 53 and 56, that's 109 divided by 2, and I end up getting 54.5. All right? 56 and 59, I do 56 plus 59 divided by 2, and I end up getting 57.5. And if you continue the pattern, you should end up getting 59 plus 62 divided by 2, that's 60.5. And if you can tell the pattern, you should be able to know that this will be 63.5 and this will be 66.5. Okay, and you can double check in the calculator if you want to. Next, you are going to, of course, you can find your cumulative frequency. So for the cumulative frequency, my initial frequency is 6, so I'm going to start off with 6. So I have 6 times here, and then I add 8 more times. That brings me a running total of 14 times. Then plus 11, that brings me up to 25. Then plus 10, that gives me 35. Plus 8, that gives me 43. And then plus 7, that ends up giving me 50. So I know that I do have 50 total because that's my cumulative frequency. So now, in order to find the mean, we are going to basically take each mid-interval value and we are going to multiply by the cumulative frequency, okay, that each time that mid-interval value is going to show up, okay, hypothetically speaking. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we're going to take the sum of our values. So remember, the mean is going to be the sum of the values, and then we're going to divide it by the sum of our frequencies. So what we will end up getting is we will end up getting 51.5 times 6 plus 54.5 times 8 plus 57.5 times 11 plus 60.5 times 10 plus 63.5 times 8 plus 66.5 times 7. So once we do that, that'll be our sum, which is 2,956, and we're going to divide it by the sum of our frequencies, which we know is our cumulative frequency, which is 50. So when I take 2,956 and divide it by 50, I end up getting that my mean is going to be 59.12. And I don't have to round a 3 sig fig here because the answer is pretty, so to speak. Okay, it cuts itself off, it truncates itself. All right, so now let's find the median. So remember, the median is the middle number, and the way that you find out which middle number to focus in on is that you use the formula n plus 1 divided by 2. So remember, n is the total number of values that you have. So you have 50 numbers, you're going to add 1 to it and then divide it by 2. So this is going to tell you the term to focus on. So 51 divided by 2 is 25.5. So that's the term that we need to focus on. All right. So if we look at our cumulative frequency here, we are going to have that our frequency is going to start off with 6 terms, and then it's going to increase by 8 to give us a total of 14, and then it's going to increase by 11 to give us a total of 25 terms. I know that 25.5 is halfway in between 25 and 26. So if we know that the cumulative frequency for this class is 25, then I already know that the 26th term is going to lie in this range here, okay? So basically, I need to find the halfway point between these two values, 57.5 and 60.5, since 25.5 is in between the 25th and the 26th term. Remember, the 26th term lies somewhere over here, okay? So when I do that, I'm going to have 57.5 plus 60.5, and then I'm going to divide by 2, and I end up getting that my median is 59. All right, so that is my median. So remember, we had to find the 25.5 term, okay, or we can say the 25th term if you want to. Next, we want to find our mode. So remember, your mode is the value that you see the most often or that has the highest frequency. And I can tell here by looking at my frequency table that the class that had the highest mode was going to be from 56 to 59 because they had a frequency of 11. So that is my what we call our modal class here. Now to verify our answers by using the calculator, we are going to press stat, go to edit, and we are going to type in our mid-interval values into L1. We cannot type in a range of values into a single cell, so we have to use the mid-interval value. So we're going to type in these mid-interval values into L1 and be careful to make sure you don't make a simple mistake with inputting these numbers, okay? Because if you do, it will throw the entire answer off. So now that I have my mid intervals in, I am going to put in my frequencies, not the cumulative frequencies, but the regular frequencies. So once I put these frequencies in, this will be what my table looks like. And then I'm going to press stat, go over to calc, select one variable statistics. My list is in L1 and my frequencies are in L2. And then I'm going to press calculate. And as you can see here, we can verify that yes, indeed, our mean is 59.12. And we can also scroll down to see that our median is 59. All right, so if you have any questions on finding the measures of center from frequency tables, please let me know and have a great day.